Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
It is Josh Bowe with another edition of Mavs Moneyball After Dark, coming to you after a disappointing, to say the least, Mavericks loss 105-90 to the Cleveland Cavaliers Wednesday night in Dallas. Mavericks pretty much get thumped in this one, and as you can tell by me starting off the podcast, Kirk Henderson will not be joining me tonight. He has to wake up and drive to Texas A&M at 4:30 in the morning. So we kind of give him the night off for game day duties so he can just get to his live show and then get to bed as soon as he can. It will just be me tonight. I promise I will try not to yawn as much as I do. But thankfully this game there's nothing really spectacular to say about this game, stuff that we don't already know, but it was a measuring stick game, and there's just something about a team like the Mavericks playing against an actual good team. You know, when they beating the Thunder by 7 at home doesn't do much for a team that has been to the playoffs 3 straight years, been to the Western Conference Finals. It's good that they won and they snapped a 2-game losing streak, but these are the types of games you want to see them measure themselves against. And unfortunately, the Mavericks just got manhandled. Cleveland started out the game 16-2 run. I honestly thought this was going to be like a 30-point laugher by the third quarter. And I guess credit to the Mavericks. They never really let the game get totally out of hand. Cleveland had the biggest lead was 23. It didn't stay 20 plus for very long. It was 19 at half. They cut it down to like 12 and then about 10 and then 9 and various points of the third and fourth quarter. But for the majority of the second half, it was about a 12 to 18 point deficit for the Mavericks. So the box score, the final score is a little foolish. You see 15 and you're like, maybe the Mavericks held tough, and then Cleveland pulled away at the end. Yeah, Cleveland controlled this game from opening tip to final buzzer. Cleveland led the entire game, so this game never felt in danger for the Cavaliers. I mean, even despite the Mavericks going on a couple of runs here and there. For this game, I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away is the overwhelming talent disparity that was shown tonight. I know that you could do this for just about every matchup that the Mavericks have against a good team, but if you ranked the players that played in this game, starting with, Luka probably is at 1, and then it's like, when do you get to the next Maverick? Because Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, those are your next player. Those are the next 4 players for sure. And then it's like, then Dinwiddie is a better, more productive player, I think, than Kevin Love, and that's when you finally start to get some Mavericks. But it's really difficult, when you're playing against teams like this, when you're just the talent disparity was just so much. Cleveland had all 5 starters in double figures. The Mavericks once again just had 2. Luka with 30, Dinwiddie with 10, and then the other 3 starters, Finney-Smith, Hardaway, and Powell, combined for 14 points. And Jared Allen, Cleveland's starting center, scored 14 points on his own. Darius Garland only scored 12 on 4-11 shooting. This is one of his worst games offensively this season, and Cleveland still comfortably led for most of this game. Donovan Mitchell went bananas. He scored 25 points in the first half, only missed 2 shots. Credit to the Mavericks. He only scored 9 because he finished with 34. Reggie Bullock started the second half, surprisingly, and kind of face guarded him basically the entire game. And while that slowed down Mitchell, a bunch of other guys got in on the action, with the Mavericks kind of committing to forcing other guys to beat them other than Mitchell. Well, the other guys beat them. Mobley had 14 points and 6 assists, finding guys as the on the short roll against 4-on-3 situations. Jared Allen only missed 1 shot out of 7. It's 14 points. So it was a tough game. I don't know what else to say. The Cleveland scored a bunch of points in the paint. They shot almost 53% from the floor. The Mavericks shot under 40% from the field, under 35% from 3. And again, the three ball that's kind of how they win or lose games, because if shots are falling, their defense is better. Their offense is obviously scoring. 3 ball was not falling. Reggie Bullock was 3 of 5. Christian Wood was 4 of 7. And then after that, it was kind of nothing. Luka was 2 of 8. Dinwiddie 1 of 4. Tim Hardaway Jr. scored 3 points in 31 minutes on 5 shots. Surprised he took 5 shots after the outrageous green light he had against the Thunder, where he was 6 of 14 from 3. Kind of surprised he didn't take a few more. Quietly after that bananas 5-game stretch where Tim scored a bunch of points, but he's drilled 30 3-pointers across those 5 games. In the 4 games since then, he's 11 of 35 from 3, which is 31.4%. So this team is kind of going how Tim goes. It's unfortunate that the Mavericks kind of have to have Tim shooting molten lava hot to win games, but that's unfortunately how it's looking. In addition to Luka needing to score all the points, and he had 30, but one of his most inefficient games of the season. He was 9 of 23 from the floor. Hit his free throws, but not a good Luka game. 5 turnovers. Really bad body language in the first quarter and first half. He did not look ready to start this game. And Luka is the best player. When you're the best player and you're not ready to start the game, that trickles down to the rest of your team. He's a $200 million guy. He has to be ready to play in a game like this. He really didn't pick it up until the second half. And by then, you're down 19 and a half. Like, what's the point? The Mavericks are 14-14. We're right back to where we were the last 2 seasons, where this team just cannot get off to a good start despite having one of the 3 or 4 best basketball players on the planet playing at an extremely high level. Last season, the reason why the Mavericks got off a slow start was because, Luka came into the season out of shape, didn't play up to his standards. Despite putting up numbers, his efficiency was nowhere near what it was the prior 2 seasons. And then the team got hit with COVID, and then Luka had an ankle injury, and they were 16 and 18 with Luka hurt and COVID, but they clawed back. When Luka came back from that ankle injury, he was playing phenomenally, about as well as he's played to start this season. And that's the big difference, is Luka has been good. They've been relatively healthy. This was the first game that they were missing 2 major rotation pieces at the same time. Maxey has missed a couple games before this. Luka has missed some games for rest, but they've been healthy. They've had their top 6 or 7 guys for almost every single game this season, unless they were resting guys. So that's the difference. It's like, well, last season Luka was hurt and out of shape and wasn't playing to his standard. Well, Luka is playing as good as he's ever played in his life, and the Mavericks are 14-14 after 28 games. So there's, you want to say that, it hasn't gotten as bad as it got last year. Again, they were 16-18 at one point. Mavericks aren't 2 games under 500 toward the end of December. I mean, they could be, but they're not right now. So you have to hope that they can turn around again. But it's just, how many times can they do it for a third time? They're going to have to. Third time in a row that they're going to have to try to turn their season around and win at a crazy clip to make sure that they not only make the playing tournament, but maybe even try to avoid it. The West is weird, and a lot of teams are bunched up, but the Mavericks are slowly running out of time to keep themselves in a comfortable position where they don't have to worry about the play-in tournament. They are a game and a half back of the 6th seed Sacramento Kings, who are 15-12, so they're still within fighting range, arm's length. They're 2 games back of the 4th seed, the Portland Trailblazers, who are 16-12. So they're not out of it, but they can't keep giving up games like this. They can't keep hovering around 500 if they want to seriously make a push to get back into fighting for home court advantage, which I have to imagine was this team's goal, was a lot of prognosticators' goal, a prediction this season. I did not think the Mavericks would get a top 4 seed, but I thought they would win 49 games and be out of the play-in. And right now they're not on pace for that as well either. So they've got a lot of work to do. Missing Maxi Kleber and Josh Green really hurt. There's no denying that. Those are their 2 best defensive players. Green is their biggest high-energy player. And especially in a game where you start down 16-2 in the first quarter, are you telling me Josh Green wouldn't have made a different, an impact coming off the bench and trying to give this team some life? Like, that would have made a big difference. But again, you're talking about 2 guys that I think combined to average less than 15 points per game. So would they really, I don't know. They might have made the score closer. I don't know if they make this changes. I don't think they changed this game from a win to a loss. So it's unfortunate. The Mavericks' depth is just really stretched out right now. Frank Ntilikina has, I think, shot 5 of 24 this season. Excuse me, in total. He played 12 minutes, scored 0 points, played some decent defense, but again, there just has to be more. And I mean, you need more from your bench, not necessarily from Frank, because this is kind of who he is. I think one of the biggest storylines that come out of this game, other than, wow, the Mavericks really need a talent boost, is Jason Kidd made one of the more significant changes to the lineup and the rotation in the second half. Dwight Powell and Dorian Finney-Smith did not start the second half. Christian Wood and Reggie Bullock did. And Wood starting over Powell was not super surprising because Wood has started the second half a couple of times this season. But Reggie for Dorian was a surprise. I mean, people can correct me if I'm wrong, reach out to me if I'm wrong here. But I honestly cannot remember the last time Dorian did not start a half, first or second, while he was healthy in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, he has been a rock to the starting lineup since the Mavericks drafted Luka Doncic. I mean, he's been their most reliable perimeter defender. He's been one of their more reliable 3-point shooters over the last couple of years, despite his kind of streakiness that he shows. But I mean, he was bad tonight. He had 7 points in 25 minutes. I mean, he was not making impact defensively. He wasn't rebounding. He wasn't making shots. Luka seemed to get particularly frustrated when he passed up an open look at the top of the 3-point arc. And honestly, Dorian has been awful on above the break threes. So passing it was probably a good decision, but the offense really breaks down if he's not shooting that shot confidently. And he's been respectable on above the break threes in the past. So he needs to be able to make that shot because defenses are going to double Luka when Dorian sets a screen, and he's going to have that space at the top of the arc. And if he can't do anything with it, which he didn't, he only scored 7 points. He only made 2 of 7 from 3, and he had 0 assists. So he drove to the rim a couple times with that space, but nothing really happened. There was a stretch where I thought the Mavericks were going to get back in the game because they were just ruthlessly attacking Kevin Love, who was guarding Dorian, and Dorian set screens for Luka, and Kevin Love did not go out to guard Dorian at the 3-point line. He made a couple threes in I think the first half, but then he got cold again, and they couldn't really go back to it. So yeah, I don't know if that has any bearing for the rest of the season or the rest of this week. The rest of the season is definitely harsh, but like is this a one-game thing, or is Kidd going to change up the starting lineup again? Because it might need it. I don't know if Christian Wood is the answer. I don't know if Reggie Bullock off the bench is the answer, but Reggie seems to have found his stroke again, like he always does around this time of year. He was 3 of 5 from the floor. He was 3 of 4 from 3 against the Thunder, so he's 6 of his last 11 from 3, last 2 games. But it's starting to look like just kind of shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. Wood played 35 minutes, Bullock played 36 minutes, and they were both as productive as they've been in the last couple of weeks. And the Mavericks still lost. They outscored the Cavaliers by 4 in the second half. If anyone wants to tote that as a victory, maybe if you start the game with Wood and Bullock tonight, it's a different story. I don't know. Cleveland's really good, but the Mavericks definitely need to figure something out. I know a lot of people are going to want to trade, but I'm bad at the fake trade stuff, so I don't even want to talk about that. I just want to talk about the pieces that are in front of us. I know a lot of Mavs fans were wanting Jaden Hardy to play. He only got 3 minutes in garbage time, missed both the shots. Kemba Walker did not play, and I am curious what his role is going forward, because he made his debut in that game against Chicago, and he scored 8 points, but he played 20 minutes, so he was obviously feeling. They obviously were confident enough in him to soak up a decent amount of minutes, even if that game was a schedule loss. But he has not gotten off the bench in the 2 games since then. So what is the deal? Is he not part of this rotation? Is he literally just taking the Campazzo spot where he's just going to play spot desperation minutes and play in games where the Mavericks are resting guys? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's only weird when you think of them making this decision to switch. Like, if they're ramping up Kemba for more minutes, he played 20 minutes against Chicago, so why couldn't he play? That was on Saturday. It's been 4 days. Could he not? I don't know. It's just weird. Not saying that Kemba would have made a difference in this game, but I'm just curious what his role is going to be going forward. If he's going to be part of this rotation in the future, or if he's going to be a DNP CD in these games against good teams when everyone's healthy. So we'll see. Things aren't getting any easier. Thankfully, the Mavericks are still at home. They play Portland on Friday, and then back to back they go to play this very same Cleveland team on the road Saturday. So the Mavericks at 14-14, that 500 mark. Oh, excuse me, I did it. I didn't yawn all time, and I did just now. That 500 mark is in risk. The Mavericks haven't been 2 games below 500. I don't think they've been 2 games below 500 this season. We're going to do some live look at podcasting. And yeah, they got to 9-10, 10-11, and now they're 14-14. So they haven't, the most they've been is 1 game under 500. So that's going to definitely be in risk when you play this back-to-back against Portland and Cleveland. Portland's playing better after a little bit of a rough patch last week. They had a good start, but then kind of tapered off, and now they're kind of getting it back in gear. Mavericks play Portland really well since Luke has been drafted, so I have some confidence in that game. They're going to really need to get it, because back-to-back against Cleveland's going to be tough, and then they play after they play Portland, they're 4 straight road games, and you know how this team is on the road. So this is a really crucial time. They need to finish the year strong somehow. They need to find a way to do it, or things are going to get bleaker. So, again, this is Josh Bowe for MavsMoneyball.com. This is Mavs Moneyball After Dark. Again, the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Dallas Mavericks 105-90. I presume myself and our editor-in-chief, Kirk, will be back with you Friday, December 16th, after the Portland game. Everyone be well.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.